What's up, guys? Now look, we have had talk, endless talk over the last few years about how Formula One should grow its audience in America. We almost had a Miami Grand Prix on the schedule, but it looks like it's disappeared again now. So many ups and downs for F1 stateside over the years, so many good and bad memories, unfortunately. But can Formula One ever really break America? And how can we investigate that and find out a bit more? Oh, got an idea. Claire, just got to nip out. I won't be long. Still with me? Right, let's go and ask some Americans. We don't need these anymore. Do you like motor racing? Auto racing?
No, not really. I just don't watch it.
You don't watch any of it? Why not?
I just don't.
Never been a fan?
Yeah, I'm all basketball.
Oh yeah? Not even NASCAR or anything?
Nothing, not football, nothing, just basketball is live.
Alright man, cheers. Do you like motor racing? Auto racing?
I mean, NASCAR is our Formula One, I guess.
Yeah.
So
why? Why is NASCAR better than Formula One?
That's a good question. I don't know. I have no idea.
Have you heard of Formula One racing?
No.
Never heard of it?
Wait, that the, I think so, the fast car.
Yeah. But you don't like it? Not a fan?
No, not really.
I'm into Formula One.
Yeah.
And I want to understand, it's massive all around the world, but not in the States.
In the States, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because football is #1 here. The world is the Dallas Cowboys and football, you know.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Go Cowboys.
Yeah, go Cowboys. There you go.
Thanks, guys. About Formula One?
NASCAR.
What about Formula One?
I've never heard of that.
You never heard of Formula One?
Formula One? I'm not familiar to it, but I know NASCAR.
So you're a Formula One fan in America? There's not that many of you though. Why do you think it is? Why do you think people don't like Formula One here?
I guess I hate the car going to the right instead of the left.
Is that what it is? Well, look, there you have it. I think the fact is, people don't know about it. It's not a huge sport in general here, and I think that's probably because it's not on TV every 5 minutes, like football is, American football. But look, we need more investigation. That's been quite useful though, but I think I probably better get back. Claire will be wondering where I've gone. You don't love NASCAR?
I'm from the Bronx. I don't know about that stuff.
Hi, sorry, took a bit longer than I thought. Now look, I know that wasn't in any way scientific, it was a bit of fun. That wasn't any real test of why Formula One hasn't worked or hasn't been successful in the States. But there are lots of reasons. You know, I speak to lots of you guys, I speak to lots of motorsport fans in America who don't necessarily embrace Formula One. I've spoken to lots of American Formula One fans who love it. And look, there's loads of reasons why it just hasn't clicked over the years. Why hasn't Formula One tapped into this massive market that is America, and why hasn't necessarily America embraced Formula One to the extent that we all perhaps think it should, hope it should? I think there's a number of things. I mean, the first and most obvious one, I guess, in fact there's lots of obvious ones, but one of the main reasons is the fact there's no American driver. And I'm going to say there's no American team, and I know that there is the Haas Formula One team now, but to all intents and purposes they are not flying the flag for America necessarily. They are largely based here in the UK to some extent, or at least a large part of their operation is. The whole of Formula One is European based, and that means they have to have a European centre. There is no American driver that fans in the States can get behind. You know, there's no history of American drivers, or not a massive history. There is history if you go way back. but there isn't huge history of a long line of American drivers that fans can relate to. In Europe we can talk about, you know, the Schumachers, we can talk about the Alain Prosts, you know, in South America they can talk about the Sennas, you know, these people that they've grown up, the kids, you know, have grown up to become adults and now they're passing on this information to their own kids. American Formula One fans don't necessarily have that American heritage within Formula One to attach themselves to and to fall back on and to pass on to new generations within their own families. And then you've got the idea that most races, most Formula One races, or lots of them at least, are on at totally unsociable times for an audience in America. Now, you're only going to get people who are already die-hard fans of a sport to get up at 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning to start watching a 2-hour-long sporting event. That's not the sort of thing that you stumble across as you're flicking through the channels, because people aren't flicking through the channels at that time of the morning, in general. Then you've got the fact that we have one race in the States. It's the Texas Grand Prix, the Austin Grand Prix, which is it's an immense event. It's an incredible event. The state of Texas, the city of Austin, do an incredible job of putting on a mega show. It's one of my favourite races that we go to. I love it. Everybody who goes there loves it because the whole city comes alive. It's a party city. It's one of my favourite places. And so they've really got behind that. But when I go to places like Texas and I start to talk to people around the city of Austin, yes, they all know about Formula One, but as you saw from the clip earlier on, outside of the city of Austin, even within the state of Texas, how many people know that the Formula One is a big sporting event there? How many people know when it's on? How they can get tickets for it? You know, what even it is? Because I don't think they do. And when you're talking about motorsport fans in America, they've already got lots of motorsport that they love. So you've got to ask the question, why would American race fans want to migrate towards Formula One? Do they need Formula One? Well, there's a good argument to say that maybe they don't, because they already love NASCAR, they already love IndyCar. They're hugely passionate about those, and they have loads of races on every weekend all around their own country that they can go to, that they can visit, they can see on primetime TV. You know, they know the stars of that sport because they're national superstars. They're on the chat shows. You know, they know who they are. It makes the news when somebody does well or if somebody doesn't do well, because they are household names, lots of them. Formula One stars are definitely not. Lewis Hamilton is doing wonders for trying to push his own brand, the Lewis Hamilton brand in the States, but he's scratching the surface. Yes, he's being seen in all the right places, he's being seen with the right people to make it into to migrate from sports fans' homes into entertainment, the homes of entertainment fans. You know, music stars, he's hanging out with music stars, fashion stars. That will migrate his own celebrity into those worlds. But is that enough to start making people sit up and go, well, do you know what? I saw this Lewis Hamilton guy hanging out with somebody on the Tonight Show the other day. I'm going to go and watch a race. I don't think it is. So how do we do it then? How do we start to attract more American fans, if indeed that's what we say we need within Formula One? And the people at Liberty do need to do this, because they need to generate more and more revenue. They spent an absolute fortune on buying the rights to Formula One. They now need to recoup some of that, and America is a hugely untapped market for them, so they need to try and break ground in that area. So how do they do it? Well, the first idea that Liberty have is to get at least one more American race, and that is almost happening. You know, we almost got Miami, that didn't come off. I think we're very close, in fact, to getting a race in Vegas. That's been talked about for a long, long time. It's a massive destination city. It would be a great event. You know it would be a great event. You know, we'd all love to go there. Hello, Pharrell, how you doing? So that's perhaps something. Another race or more races in the States would put more Formula One events at a decent hour, decent time for Formula One fans in America. We'd bring a bit more attention to the sport. The thing for me that I think would really help is what I noticed, and I think we all noticed, when Fernando Alonso went from Formula One, took a weekend off, amazingly missed the Monaco Grand Prix to go and take part in the Indy 500. How big a deal was that? That was enormous, and what that did was cross the boundaries between Formula One and IndyCar in an enormous way. He was a massive star out there. He almost won it if it wasn't for a Honda engine failure, of all things. But that highlighted to me the importance of crossover between these two sports. If we could get more Formula One stars going over to take part in races out there, and perhaps even more importantly, if we can take an IndyCar driver, a massive star from that American motorsports network out there, if we can bring somebody over, put them in a Formula One car and have them be successful, well, that is where you start to see people sitting up and taking notice. If you get a big name from over there to come over here, people will follow. People will take notice of what they're up to. They have a following. They already have their own social media followings, their own celebrity status in the States. If all of a sudden that celebrity comes across the pond, starts taking part in this brand new race series, Formula One, and then potentially does well, that could have a huge, huge impact. And for me, that's one of the biggest areas that Liberty should be starting and trying hard to push. Maybe they are, I don't know. What I do know is that Liberty are pushing to try and move things towards the States, to try and build an audience out there. I happen to know, just through contacts of my own, that they have or are commissioning a kind of social media campaign to try and entice a younger American audience into Formula One. And they're trying all sorts of different innovative ways to do that. Hasn't hit the screens yet, but I'm sure it will do very soon. And whether that will be successful or not, I don't know. But they are actively trying to push Formula One stateside. Can we do anything about the race start times to help an American audience? Well, some races you can. And if Liberty think that's important enough, why not? Why not shuffle race start times around to accommodate what could be a huge audience for you? You know, we in Europe are all used to races starting at a certain time on a Sunday. Would we be really upset if they shifted by 2 or 3 hours? I don't think so. The other thing that I think is great for attracting a new audience, and I talked about this previously, is the Netflix series, which is a global series, of course. Netflix, huge in the States. And I have already spoken to lots of American fans who didn't know anything about Formula One, watched the Netflix documentary, and have now started to take an interest in Formula One racing. That's a real big opportunity. More of that, I think, could really help. So I think there's lots of things Liberty can do, and they are doing it. You know, this is not a criticism of Liberty in any way. I think Liberty are working hard behind the scenes to make this happen, or to build a new and a bigger audience in the States. So I think it will grow. You know, the idea of the razzmatazz and the showbiz that we saw at the US Grand Prix a couple of years ago with the cheerleaders and the fireworks and everything else that happened, that I know lots of traditional race fans over here didn't like. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was great. You know, this is an American show they were putting on. Americans do things the American way. So why not let them promote their own race however they want to do it? And if we get a race in Vegas, I can only begin to imagine the razzmatazz that would be around that. And I think that would be great. Let's make each race a little bit unique, have a little bit of culture of the place that we're in. So I think there's loads of opportunity. I think there's loads of chance to make things happen over there, but I think some of the biggest are enticing drivers to cross over in both directions. It's to show people what Formula One has to offer, because if you can get behind it, most of the time we've got something spectacular. The cars are incredibly technical, so if you're a technical audience, absolutely we've got something for you. We need to improve the racing on a more frequent basis. We've had some great races, but if the American audience happens to switch on and it's a dull race, they'll switch off again very quickly. What about Alexander Rossi coming back to Formula One? Now he's been so successful in IndyCar. How about that? He's got experience. He's a prime candidate. The Haas team now doing really well, aren't they? Pushing the boundaries of the top of the midfield. That's a decent start. That's a decent run. If you get Alexander Rossi in that car, or somebody else of similar stature around the States, that's a storyline. I'd love to see it happen, but I really would love to see what you think about this, because this is potentially huge for Formula One on both sides of the pond. Could be huge in the States, but what's the impact going to be like over in Europe or the rest of the traditional audience of Formula One? Do you want to see more in the States? Do you care? You know, is Formula One just... Should we be leaving America to its own type of motorsport, and should Formula One stick to the territories that it already has? I don't think that's going to happen, but what do you think about it? Anyway, I better go and make it up to the missus. I shall see you soon. Ta-ra.